quiche. I'm going to simply saute them in a pat of butter with a couple sprigs of fresh thyme, and I'm going to give them a little sprinkle of kosher salt, which is going to help draw out their moisture. We're cooking them for 7 to 8 minutes over medium heat until their liquid has released and evaporated and they're starting to brown. Lose the thyme sprigs and likewise set these aside to cool. Next up, some nice skinny spears of asparagus. Everyone in my life has always told me that you should trim asparagus by snapping it, but I'm here to tell you, you can just cut it, it's fine. We're likewise chopping the asparagus into bite-sized pieces before dumping into some boiling water and shocking in an ice bath after cooking for about 5 minutes. Boiling will obviously par-cook the asparagus, and shocking it in an ice bath will preserve its beautiful green color. And cooling it off fast will prevent it from getting mushy. Last up, some simply sauteed spinach. A little bit of olive oil on a nice hot pan, add way more spinach than you think can feasibly fit in there, and cook over medium-high heat until it's shrunk to about a bajillionth of its original size. At this point, we're going to crush in a clove or two of garlic and continue sauteing for another 30 seconds or until fragrant. Season with a little bit of kosher salt and freshly ground pepper, and just like everything else, set it aside and allow to cool completely. Next up, the all-important custard, and once again I'm making multiple quiches here, so do as I say, not as I do, and the recipes will be adjusted on the website. Into a medium bowl goes 2 large eggs, a half cup of milk, and a half cup of heavy cream. Whisk that together with a dash of white pepper until homogeneous. And then for a shallow quiche like this one, we're going to start by laying down a thin bed of Gruyere cheese, followed by any and all of our par-cooked spring vegetables. Then we're going to pour our custard over top until the quiche is very nearly full. It's going to puff up a little bit in the oven. Top with a little extra cheese, or a lot of extra cheese. Plop it on top of a rimmed baking sheet to protect your oven from any accidental drippage. Then we're going to bake it at 375 Fahrenheit for 10 minutes, lower the temperature to 325, and bake for an additional 30. You want the edges to be set, but for it to be still a little jiggly in the center. Let it cool for at least half an hour before removing it from the tart pan and serving. And you can serve this guy warm at room temperature or chilled in the fridge overnight. And it makes for a delicious and versatile breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But what if we want to make a quiche that really blows the bloody doors off? Well, first we have to make ourselves an honest-to-God pie crust, and my new favorite way to do it is in a stand mixer. This is going to be a much larger quiche, so this is double the recipe that we did in the food processor. And we're going to use the paddle attachment on low speed to break up the butter into the dry ingredients until it's in varied chunks about the size of blueberries. At that point, we're going to add our ice water just a little bit at a time until it starts to clump together into a cohesive pie dough, which we're going to treat very much the same as the other pie dough. Press it into a disc using plastic wrap and fridge it for at least 30 minutes, or up to overnight if you want to get ahead in the quiche game. This time we're going to roll it out to a diameter of about 18 inches, because our intended vessel is a high-walled 9-inch springform pan. Getting the dough in here is a bit tricky. We're going to roll it up on the rolling pin itself in order to drape it as centered as possible over the springform. Then, in order to prevent holes and rips and tears, you really have to lift and drop this one into the pan, knowing that your patience will be rewarded with a tall, proud crust. Into the fridge it goes for 30 minutes before we commence to par baking. Same procedure here, but this time we're using 2 crumpled up sheets of parchment paper and just a whole lot more sugar. This thing ate like 6 pounds of sugar. But don't worry, none of it is going to waste. Toasted sugar is your friend. We're par baking at 375 for the same 25 minutes, carefully removing the sugar and returning to the oven for an additional 10 to 15 minutes until it no longer looks wet. Then, same as before, we're trimming off the excess and allowing to cool completely before filling. Now, you might have noticed that this is rather a deep quiche, so we're going to need a whole lot of custard. We're also going to make one that's super bad. We're starting by combining 2 cups each whole milk and creme fraiche, whisking gently until smooth, and then once again busting out the stand mixer. We're using a grand total of 10 eggs, and we're going to crack the first 5 into the stand mixer, and we're going to whisk it together with about 1/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour until it forms a paste. This is to help stabilize the custard, which once again is going to be very tall. Scrape down the sides of the bowl if you missed any dry stuff, add the 5 remaining eggs and the milk creme fraiche mixture, and we're going to start beating that together into a light creamy filling for our quiche. But wait, the fun's not over. We're adding about a tablespoon's worth of chopped fresh thyme, 1/4 of 1 cup of kosher salt, about a half teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, and a generous dash of white pepper. Then we're beating everybody together on medium speed until things are light and frothy, about 1 minute, and then it's time to fill. I've got 4 ounces of Gruyere and 3 ounces of Emmental cheese. I'm going to lay a little bit down on the bottom of the quiche shell, and then we're going to start layering in our fillings. A roughly even amount of each vegetable, and then we're going to top it with our custard and some cheese. Just enough custard to cover the veg, a little sprinkle of cheese, and rinse and repeat until the thing is full. Top generously, one might even say greedily, with the remaining cheese, and instead of the variable oven temperatures, this guy's headed into a 325-degree Fahrenheit oven for a solid hour and a half, until the edges are set, but the center jiggles when jiggled. Now this guy's got to cool for at least 4 hours. Speaking of which, we've carefully removed that from its spring-form pan, and now we're going to cut ourselves a big old slice, taking a moment to admire the soft, luxuriant custard and flavorful fillings. And yes, this one is pretty labor-intensive, but it's super impressive, and you just do not get quiche this good outside of a bakery. Cheers.
Our mission today is to do some small part to take care of this problem. I just want people to understand that this isn't just a hobby, this is a serious problem. And